Zyvex stood at the edge of the ship's wreckage, scowling. The emergency landing had been rough, and now the damn door was jammed. Her squad surrounded her, battle-hardened women who had slaughtered pirates without blinking, but none of them could fix a door. Then the human arrived. Sergeant Nathan Carter walked toward them with an easy, confident stride, wearing that smug human smirk. Zyvex had heard the rumors about humans, fragile, emotional, and capable of true combat. Yet this one had muscles that did not look weak at all. "Your distress call mentioned a broken ship," Carter said, tugging off his gloves. His voice was deep, casual, almost lazy. Zyvex narrowed her eyes. "We require immediate assistance. Can you fix it or not?" Carter grinned, unslinging a large, metallic object from his tool belt. "Don't worry, I've got something for this." He pulled out his tool. Zyvex's breath caught. It was huge. The moment the vibrating device came to life in his hands, her squad tensed, staring in absolute horror. One warrior let out a choked gasp. Another whispered, "By the gods, it's real!" Zyvex forced herself to remain composed, but her mind raced. The rumors about human men, about their devastating, hidden weapons, were true? Carter, oblivious, crouched by the jammed door, his tool whirring ominously. Sparks flew as he pressed it against the ship. The warriors flinched. Zyvex's second-in-command, Rilke, gripped her sword. "Captain, permission to engage before he unleashes it." Zyvex swallowed. "No. We need to see its full capabilities first." Carter, still completely unaware, kept working, sweat glistening on his forearms. "Damn thing's jammed pretty bad," he muttered, adjusting his grip. Zyvex inhaled sharply. Rilke let out a panicked whisper. "It's twitching." Another warrior whimpered. "How do humans even survive mating?" Carter glanced up, frowning. "You ladies okay?" "Proceed," Zyvex said quickly, her voice just a little too tight. He shrugged and turned up the power. The tool roared to life, sending a violent shudder through the ship. The vibrations echoed through the metal hull, rattling everything. The entire squad screamed. One warrior dropped her weapon. Another backed away in sheer terror. "Forgive me, Captain, but we cannot stand against that," one cried. Zyvex gritted her teeth. She was a warrior, not some trembling novice. But the sheer force Carter was wielding was intimidating and impressive. Then disaster struck. Carter's tool slipped. A jet of thick, white lubricant shot out, spraying across Zyvex's chest plate. Silence. Absolute. Horrified. Silence. Zyvex's entire squad collapsed in panicked surrender. A warrior sobbed, "We are doomed!" Another fainted on the spot. Rilke clutched her trembling sword. "Captain, it has already begun." Carter blinked. "What?" Zyvex stood frozen, staring at the warm liquid running down her armor. Carter scratched his head. "Damn thing leaks sometimes. Hold on, I've got a rag." Zyvex had never in her life felt so unprepared for battle. Zyvex forced herself to remain still, jaw tight, chest heaving. The liquid on her armor was beginning to cool, but her mind burned with what she had just witnessed. The size, the power, the sheer force behind Carter's tool. If this was a standard human weapon, then their species had been severely underestimated. Her squad remained collapsed around her, some shaking, some praying. Rilke had drawn a small dagger, likely as a last resort suicide measure, rather than face whatever was coming next. Carter, completely unaware of the existential crisis he had triggered, wiped his tool off with a rag, inspecting it with a frown. "Huh. Probably should have changed the seal before using it on something this tight." Zyvex clenched her fists. He was speaking so casually, as if he hadn't just unleashed something unnatural and horrifying before them. The warriors whimpered. "Captain," Rilke whispered, eyes wide with pleading. "I will not judge you if you flee. You are still young. You can produce heirs. I will cover your retreat." Zyvex exhaled slowly. "We do not retreat. We observe." Carter adjusted his stance, rolling his shoulders as he prepared for another attempt. The motion made the muscles in his arms flex, drawing a strangled gasp from one of the younger warriors. Zyvex had fought monstrous creatures. She had stood against warlords. None of them had made her heart hammer the way this moment did. The tool roared to life once more. The squad recoiled as one, their survival instincts screaming at them to run. Zyvex held firm, locking her knees so they wouldn't betray her weakness. Then, with one final thrust, Carter drove the tool deeper into the ship's panel, forcing it open with a loud, metallic groan. The warriors wailed in surrender. Rilke collapsed onto her knees, gripping her temples. "It's over. He has conquered the door." Zyvex breathed hard, fists clenched at her sides. The way he had done it, so effortlessly, with such confidence, it was unnatural. The rumors about humans made sense now. They were terrifying. Carter turned toward them, brushing metal shavings from his hands, a lopsided grin on his face. "And that's how you do it, ladies. Ship's good as new." No one spoke. No one even breathed. Carter blinked. You okay?" Zyvex snapped out of her trance. You subdued the beast within the metal?" He frowned. "You mean the jam panel?" "Yeah. Just needed a little force." A warrior choked out a sob. "He speaks as though it was nothing," Rilke whispered. "He is beyond our understanding." Zyvex studied him carefully. If he possessed this kind of raw power and considered it insignificant, what else were humans capable of? Her chest tightened. "Human," she said, voice steadier than she felt. "You're a tool. May I hold it?" A ripple of shock and horror spread through her squad. Carter raised an eyebrow. Sure." He tossed it to her. Zyvex caught it reflexively, instantly regretting it. It was still warm. The handle fit her grip perfectly, the weight substantial. The subtle vibrations in her hand sent a shiver down her spine. A warrior shrieked. "She has accepted it." Another gasped. "This cannot be undone." Zyvex ignored them. She turned the tool over, studying it. It was not a biological weapon like they had assumed, just metal, wiring, an engine for power. So why did it feel like she was holding something sacred? Carter stretched lazily. "You like it? Standard issue multi-tool. Got a bunch of settings. You just have to press here and..." The moment his finger brushed against hers, something hot and electric coiled deep in Zyvex's stomach. She dropped the tool immediately. It clattered against the metal floor, echoing in the silence. Carter tilted his head. "You okay? You look kinda. We are leaving." Her squad didn't need to be told twice. Zyvex turned sharply, marching away with far too much purpose, her pulsa traitorous, pounding thing in her throat. As they retreated, Rilke leaned in close. "Captain," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. "You touched it. You held it." Zyvex swallowed. "I know." Rilke hesitated. "Did it change you?" Zyvex didn't answer. The barracks were silent when Zyvex entered. Her warriors followed in stunned silence, each woman lost in her own shaken thoughts. The weight of what they had witnessed clung to them like the scent of battle, except this was not war. This was something far more dangerous. Zyvex tried to ignore the way her hands still tingled from holding the human's tool. She had wielded blades, spears, and plasma rifles, but never had an object felt so forbidden. It had been warm, heavy, vibrating with an energy she didn't understand. And worse, she had wanted to hold it longer. She shoved the thought away and addressed her squad. No one speaks of what happened today. The warriors exhaled in relief. Rilke, however, was not so easily silenced. She stepped forward, voice hushed but firm. Captain, I know what I saw. I know what you felt. Zwivex's jaw tensed. You know nothing. Your grip tightened when he touched your hand. That was... And you gasped. Zwivex felt warmth crawl up her neck. That was a battle response. Rilke's expression was unreadable. You trembled. I did not tremble. A soft murmur rippled through the squad. They had all seen. Zwivex took a steadying breath. This conversation is over. But it wasn't over. Not in her mind. She tried to meditate. She tried to train. She tried, stars help her, to sleep. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw his hands. His arms. The raw, effortless way he used his tool. It was infuriating. Why did humans need such weapons? Was this why they were so bold, so unshaken by battle? If they carried something like that with them at all times, were they constantly aware of their own power? The thought was maddening. And then, to her horror, it got worse. Because Carter sought her out. She was inspecting weapons when she heard his unmistakable voice behind her. Yo, Zwivex! She turned too quickly, far too alert, and saw him standing there, grinning, relaxed, completely unaware of the war he had started in her mind. He held something in his hands. She tensed. Was he going to show it to her again? He lifted a tray of food. Brought you guys some human rations, he said. Figured you might want to try 'em. Zwivex exhaled, trying to disguise her relief. Rilke, standing at her side, whispered, He feeds us now. This is a new phase. Carter raised an eyebrow. What? Nothing. Zwivex snapped, too fast. She took the tray, studying the contents. This is your battle sustenance? He shrugged. Kind of. It's just lunch. She lifted a package labeled protein bar and squinted. What is this? He grinned. Go on. Put it in your mouth. The squad gasped. Zwivex's eye twitched. Carter blinked. What? You? She pointed at him, heart pounding for reasons she refused to acknowledge. You cannot just say things like that. Like what? Rilke muttered. He commands the captain so casually. Carter looked between them, completely lost. It's just food. Zwivex gritted her teeth. She refused to back down. If this was some kind of test, she would pass it. She unwrapped the bar and took a decisive bite. It was sweet. Too sweet. Her entire face contorted. Carter chuckled. Yeah, they overdo it on the sugar. She struggled to swallow, then shoved the tray back at him. Your species is insane. He just laughed. And yours eats raw battlefield rations that taste like dirt. Rilke muttered. He mocks our ways. Carter smirked. Damn right I do. Zwivex's pulse jumped. There was something about the way he looked at her, unafraid, amused, teasing. He was nothing like the warriors of her kind. And then, to her absolute horror, he pulled his multi-tool from his belt. The squad reacted instantly. Rilke flinched. Another warrior let out a small, choked whimper. One even reached for a weapon. Carter blinked. Whoa, relax. Zwivex struggled to keep her breathing steady. Why, are you taking that out? He frowned. I was gonna fix your malfunctioning display. You know, the flickering screen? Rilke whispered. It begins again. Zwivex didn't trust herself to speak. Carter kneeled, completely oblivious to the sheer amount of tension flooding the room. He pressed the tool against the console, activating it with a low, powerful hum. Zwivex's stomach tightened. The sound was dangerous, familiar, unwanted. Her warriors held their breath, watching, waiting. He worked quickly, effortlessly. "Should be good now," he said, standing up, wiping his hands. "No more flickering." The screen lit up, steady and bright. Rilke whispered, "He dominates machines as well." ZYVEX had to get out of this room. "Leave," she ordered. The squad did not hesitate. They filed out, moving too fast for normal pacing. Carter frowned. "Did I do something?" ZYVEX hesitated, then forced herself to say, "You are unlike any warrior I have met." He smirked. "I get that a lot." Her pulse stuttered. She turned sharply, leaving before she could say, or do, something she would regret. Carter was starting to suspect something was off. The alien squad avoided eye contact. They whispered when he walked by. And ZYVEX, usually a model of unshakable authority, flinched every time he reached for his belt. At first, he thought they were just weirded out by humans. Not uncommon. Some alien species had quirks. Maybe these ladies had a thing against pockets? But then he overheard a conversation. "She reacts when he's near," one of the warriors murmured. "She pretends to despise his presence, but did you see how her breathing changed? She desires battle with him." Carter almost choked on his coffee. Battle? What? He barely had time to process that before he turned a corner and nearly collided with ZYVEX. She stopped short. For a second, her gaze dropped to his tool belt, then snapped back up, guilty, tense. Carter squinted. "All right. What the hell was going on?" "You been avoiding me?" he asked. ZYVEX stiffened. "I do not avoid." "Could have fooled me." Her jaw clenched. "I have duties. My time is not yours to command." "Relax, General Hardass. I just meant you seem, I dunno, weird." Her expression darkened. "I am not weird." Carter folded his arms. "Okay, then what's the deal?" She hesitated. Too long. Then, finally, she exhaled sharply. "My warriors believe you hold a hidden power." Carter raised an eyebrow. "My what now?" "They are convinced," she said slowly, like it physically hurt to admit, "that humans carry a secret weapon." Carter blinked. "What, like nukes?" "No." ZYVEX visibly struggled. "Something you wield personally. On your person." Carter stared. Then it hit him. He looked down at his multi-tool. Looked back at her. "Oh my God!" Her expression confirmed everything. "Oh my God!" ZYVEX crossed her arms, defensive. "It is not unreasonable. The device hums. It shifts. It grows in size when activated. You wield it with expertise." Carter wheezed. He tried to hold it in. He really did. But the mental image was too much. "You think my—" He couldn't even finish the sentence. His body shook with suppressed laughter. ZYVEX looked furious. "It is not amusing." "Oh, sweetheart." Carter grinned, wiping a tear. "It is so amusing." Her glare could have melted steel. "I trusted you to be honorable." Carter snorted. "Honorable? I didn't do anything. You're the one making my tool into some kind of mystical death rod." She scowled. "You should have clarified." "Oh yeah, because it's real normal to explain to a squad of alien warriors, hey, this thing on my belt? Not my decay. Asterisk asterisk." ZYVEX's ears darkened. "Lower your voice." Carter gasped dramatically. "Oh no! What if they hear the truth?" She lunged. Not to attack, but to shut him up. Bad move. Because Carter was fast. He dodged, and ZYVEX, already off balance, slammed straight into him. There was a moment. A breath of silence. And then, she realized where her hand was. On his belt. Directly over his multi-tool. ZYVEX froze. Carter's grin vanished. They both stared. Neither moved. Her fingers twitched. The humming vibration beneath them sent a very wrong, very confusing jolt up her arm. Her entire squad walked in at that exact moment. The room plunged into chaos. He has chosen her. IT was true all along. The captain will be the first to wield his power, Carter yelped. What the hell are you guys even talking about? ZYVEX jerked away like she'd been burned. Her warriors surrounded her, cheering, chanting, some in awe, some envious. Carter scrambled back. Nope. Nope. I am not part of whatever weird prophecy is happening here. You have marked her, Rilke whispered reverently. Carter gaped. I have what? ZYVEX looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her. Silence. It is too late, Captain, Rilke continued. You touched his weapon. You felt its pulse. You alone are worthy. Carter threw his hands up. It's a freaking screwdriver. The squad ignored him. ZYVEX turned slowly, painfully. You have much explaining to do, human. Carter groaned. Oh, you think? She exhaled deeply. Come with me. The warriors erupted. Carter rubbed his temples. I just know this is gonna be the weirdest conversation of my life. And oh, he had no idea.